Hey nerds, happy Wednesday. I apologize for the extremely messy room. Usually I film in my library, but it's right next to small child's nursery and he is asleep and I am noisy. So this is what's happening. So it is WordNerd Wednesday, which means I get to blab a little bit about myself, and what's going on right now is a lot of edits. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the 5 most common mistakes I found myself making when I first started teaching myself how to edit my manuscripts. So number 5 was doing my line edits first. There's something I really love about doing line edits. It's a little bit magical to go through and polish everything so that it just sounds good. I think it's because it's an immediate satisfaction. I can tweak a sentence this way and I go, okay, now that paragraph reads nicely and everything flows properly. And with the big picture edits, it's a little bit more like chipping away at a block of concrete. You maybe don't see the sculpture right away. It's going to take a little while. It's a little more frustrating, and line edits are a little bit more immediately rewarding. But the problem with that, of course, is that I would go in and I would do a whole big line edit on the whole manuscript, and then I would come back later and find out, oh, I need to cut 5 or 6 scenes, and I've just wasted a tremendous amount of time line editing those scenes. So while I still do allow myself to nitpick and tweak a line here and there when I go back and reread the last chapter I wrote, say, I do not allow myself to go further back than that and edit anything else. Number 4 is only fleshing out my main characters. So now I make it a practice to know something about every character that has a speaking line in the book, because this allows me to picture them as a fully fleshed out, realistic character with their own hopes and dreams, and their behavior then becomes consistent. Number 3 is not enough setting or too much setting. I had this awful habit of realizing that I didn't put enough setting in and then going back and putting in way too much setting. So it was kind of like overcompensating for what I knew I was missing out on here. You don't want your characters standing around in a blank white room talking to one another, but you also don't want to dedicate 3 pages to the type of couch they sit on. It's important to have a balance. And it's hard when especially when you're beginning and you're not sure how much is too much, how much is too little. And what I did was not only rely on the feedback of my beta readers, but go through books that I thought did a really good job of that and read them a second or third time and read them very consciously looking at the setting and what places the author put the setting in when they mentioned it and how they mentioned it. And that really helped me find that balance. Number 2, not making a plan of action. My problem initially when I first started learning to edit was kind of diving headfirst into the manuscript with really no plan of attack. So I tried to do it from chapter 1 all the way to the end and just tackle all the edits at once. And I found myself getting really overwhelmed, and it really wasn't good because I would end up getting discouraged and I would put it aside and think I'll come back to it later when I feel less confused and frustrated. And that never happened because I was doing it the wrong way. And it might work for some people, going from chapter 1 and going to all the way to the end, doing a continuous stream of edits for everything at once could very well be your style, and that's totally fine, but it was not working for me, and trying to do it that way was disastrous. So what I ended up doing is doing one big problem at a time. I'm a person that writes a lot of lists, so it wasn't surprising when I found out that is also how I edit. So I'll sit down and I'll write out a bunch of lists of characters, setting, plot arc, that sort of thing, and then I'll deal with one problem at a time. And that's what really works for me. Number 1, and this is the thing that kept me from publishing my book for a really long time, was not going deep enough. And this is a problem because I was too eager to get my manuscript out there, either in the querying stage or into the hands of my agent. It was always a hurry up and wait thing for me. For example, an agent once told me that they wanted me to flesh out this particular character, and what I should have done was do a case study of that character, and this is what I did later, is go deeply into that character's mind and figure out, okay, this is her motivation, but why is it her motivation? What in her backstory links up to that motivation? Instead, I went in and I put, oh, I'll do a few more descriptions of her. This is what she likes, this is what she doesn't like. She had a few more lines, and that really wasn't cutting it. It was just really light on the surface things, and sure enough, that agent rejected the manuscript because I just had failed at really fleshing out that character. And it again was just because I was too excited, I was too overeager, and I wasn't diving deep enough. So these are the 5 common writing mistakes that I made when I was first starting out, and quite often still do. I catch myself falling back into my old ways if I don't really watch myself. So let me know in the comments below what you're struggling with maybe right now in edits, or what you've struggled with in the past. Always love to hear from you guys, and even tips and tricks that you've come up with for overcoming those problems in your editing. Don't forget, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time on Sundays, the WordNerds have our live chat, and we'd love to see you there. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you nerds next week.